What do we really know about Donald Trump? What do we know about his relationship with his wife? What do we know about how much he takes his own decisions? How many of those decisions are foisted on him by his team and perhaps by one Elon Musk? What do we know about the workings of the Trump inner sanctum? We're going to find.
Almost 10 years. So I am, I think I am part of the experience. And certainly many people around him have not only become, I would say, quite used to me, but we have become very good friends, in fact. So this is a moment in history that I think that we all share. And their willingness to talk to me is part of is part of the phenomenon of Donald Trump. The people around him are pretty clear-eyed about who he is, what he is, and about the sheer incredible nature of the experience that they've had and that the whole world has had.
It is weird, isn't it? Because on the one hand, they trash your books, and they're trashing this one too, and saying it's all rubbish and all made up and all the rest of it. On the other hand, they're part of them, and they very obviously do talk to you. Nobody is suggesting
Well,
that
let
they
me.
don't.
I'll tell you a little story
Yeah.
that um, 2 weeks ago or so, when the book came out, and Trump posted typical and rather long-winded invective against me. As soon as he posted this, someone in the White House sent me a link, and along with the link was the message, "You're welcome!" Exclamation point.
Okay, let's get to the substance of what you're saying. And you write a bit about Melania and this relationship with Melania. I got into some trouble on the podcast some time ago when I suggested that Melania was, in some senses, a feminist icon, just meaning that she really does do her own thing, and did do, of course, during the election campaign. But you're writing about mainly before the election campaign, and it is fascinating. That relationship is weird, isn't it?
It's a wholly transactional relationship. They don't really live together. They don't really support each other, or they only support each other if the trade is right for one or the other. And so the more interesting thing is how they get away with this, how he gets away with this. And it's just part of the many things that he does get away with.
How does he get away with it? I mean, why? I mean, get away with in the sense of this is not the traditional presidential first lady relationship that is presented to the world, but is there also at a kind of deeper level a kind of subterfuge going on that is
Well,
relevant, I
it's
suppose, to
you know
the
I
nation?
think the interesting thing is that it's an open subterfuge, and anyone looking at this, I mean, everybody knows. Once I was talking to a person very close to Trump, and I was trying to figure this out. Has made no campaign appearances, never shows up in a courtroom, doesn't really, seldom is at Mar-a-Lago when he was living there. So was seldom at the White House when he was living there. And I kind of said, well, what's this about? And it was one of those instances. It's like you smack your head and say, well, of course, it's right in front of everybody's nose.
Let's go back to his professional relationships now, but actually still a relationship with women. You write about the woman, the very young woman, who carries the printer that goes onto the golf course with him. Tell us about her and about that thing.
Well, this is a young woman whose name is Natalie Harp. She's 30 years old. Perhaps she's now 31. And she came into the campaign in 2022 as his go fetch it girl, which all politicians have such a person. But then she continued to rise up the ranks, and she did this on the basis of her ability to say always what he wanted to hear, to use this portable printer she carried around to to print out things that he wanted to see, a world free of criticism, a world in which his every move and every inclination was confirmed as correct. And it is part of this bubble world he occupies. And one of the ways he's able to do this is surrounding him with people like Natalie Harp, the quintessential yes person. And not just that, she really became the person that he spent the most time with. And to this day, she's outside of the Oval Office. He doesn't go anywhere without her. She is his effective alter ego, except there is no alter there. She is just, she is like the at all times the echo of what he wants to hear.
You mentioned the bubble. And I think one of the images we have of Donald Trump, particularly during the election campaign, is that he's willing to kind of go outside the bubble and mix it with people and do contentious interviews and all the rest of it. But what you're saying in the book, and you mentioned this incident, well, it wasn't an incident because he didn't go, but his aides come up with the idea of him going out and socking it to the students at Columbia University. This is the anti-Israeli protests, and that doesn't come to anything. Explain why that is important when it comes to understanding this man.
Well, in that, when his aides went to him, because a lot of other Republican politicians were going to Columbia, and that, it was a good move to confirm their position as very much pro-Israel. Easy. And when Trump was presented with this idea, he immediately reacted and violently reacted and saying, "No students, no students." He didn't want to get in front of students, and that kind of confirms or conforms to every other aspect of what he does here. I mean, he doesn't engage in debate. He doesn't engage in anything that's contentious. He can't be in a situation where he is confronted. And this played out the week before last when Zelensky went to the White House. And suddenly you had this Zelensky there, the president of Ukraine, and he's trying to explain the situation there, and then trying to engage Trump in a discussion of it, and then perish the thought, a debate about it. I mean, watching this, I thought, oh my God, this is going to go south, because Trump won't do it. He won't engage in any kind of debate, or he will only engage in a one-sided debate. He's the name caller. He's the insulter. He's the guy who's posting these terrible things about people. But never is he in a situation where he can be confronted back.
And that brings us then to the people who are close to him now professionally, and obviously the biggest of those, Elon Musk. What do you make of that relationship? Because Musk comes on the scene quite late on in the period you're writing about, doesn't he?
Right. I mean, Musk essentially buys his way into the Trump circle, and it is, by the way, very costly to Elon Musk. But I look at Musk is sort of in the Steve Bannon role in the first administration, and they've both been on the cover of Time magazine as the real president. Their sort of their function is as the tip of the spear disruptors. These are the guys who theoretically have the ideas. And Bannon lasted 6 months, so I would say that's a pretty good measure for how long Elon Musk will last.
But when Musk first comes onto the scene, what does Trump make of him?
Well, there's a moment, and this happens at the Butler rally. Remember, Butler is the place where the first assassination attempt took place, and then in the last days of the campaign, there was another rally to kind of recall the assassination, and Elon Musk appeared. This is in Pennsylvania, by the way, and Elon Musk is in the process of pouring actually, it will be hundreds of millions of dollars into helping Trump win Pennsylvania. And Trump and Elon Musk comes onto the stage, and he comes onto the stage in a it's a sort of, suddenly it's Elon Musk as Mick Jagger, and he's wearing a t-shirt, and then Elon is jumping around, and his t-shirt rises up his belly, and Trump says, and he seems genuinely confounded by this. He says, "Why doesn't the guy's shirt fit?"
There was a moment during, well, look, there were several moments, weren't there, during the whole of the coming back of Donald Trump, of this extraordinary kind of way in which he put all the pieces back together again, where it might have gone wrong. And obviously the legal cases, would have brought down a more self-reflective man, if you could.
No. The legal cases would have brought down anyone else in United States political history.
Right. Okay. And
not to put too fine a point on it.
Yeah, no, but it's a point very well made, very well taken. Why in his case? Was it that he saw them simply as politics and was able to in a way that someone else wouldn't have done?
I think because he is fundamentally, bear me out here, fundamentally self-destructive. Whereas everyone else would have looked at this as, I gotta cut my losses here. I gotta get out of this in the best possible situation. But Trump, on the other hand, said no. It's going to be all or nothing, which is obviously why I called my book All or Nothing. And that he was willing to do this. So he was willing to risk everything, risk his fundamental freedom, his career, his freedom, his fortune, all of that. And obviously that raises the dramatic stakes and makes him all the more of a compelling figure of his story, all the more a riveting one. But the fact that he would do this, really, you have to kind of pause and say, what kind of guy would do this? Now, as it happens, he turned out to be the absolute correct strategy, but as easily it could have gone the other way.
There's a moment where you talk about the mugshot. We made a lot about the mugshots, and obviously, well, everyone has, but we covered it a lot during the campaign, the way in which he kind of politicized the mugshot. But he likes it from the moment it's taken, doesn't he?
Completely. Again, it's him, whereas anyone else would have seen their mugshot as the kind of ultimate humiliation. He sees it as the ultimate promotional opportunity.
And he did